Welcome, everyone. In our session today, we're going to tackle one of the most practical and, let's be honest, often one of the most daunting challenges for any student of Mandarin, giving a formal presentation. Now, our goal here isn't just to memorize a list of phrases. We're going to build a complete framework, both linguistic and cultural, that will give you the tools you need to structure your thoughts, say what you mean with precision, and really project confidence. Let's get started.
Okay, before we dive into the nuts and bolts, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Nerves, right? The anxiety that comes with public speaking is real for anyone, but it gets turned up to 11 when you're doing it in a language that isn't your first. I want you to know that this is a completely normal, universal experience. So our goal today isn't to get rid of the nerves, but to channel them. We're going to replace that anxiety with structure and solid preparation, turning that feeling of uncertainty into real competence. I want you to think of this session like we're architectural linguists. We're not just throwing words at a wall, we're giving you a structural blueprint. This is a step-by-step method that you can use again and again, no matter what your topic is. The whole point is to give you a foundational toolkit so you can build a strong, persuasive, and confident presentation every single time.
As with any kind of public speaking, that opening is everything. It's where you establish your credibility as a speaker and get the audience on your side and paying attention. So, naturally, that's exactly where we're going to begin, by breaking down the absolutely crucial opening phrases.
So, here it is. This is the quintessential opening for pretty much any formal talk in Mandarin. 大家好. Let's really listen to the tones here because they're key. Da is the fourth tone. It's a sharp, falling pitch. Da. Then jia is the first tone. It's high and flat. Jia. And finally, hao is the third tone, which dips down, then comes back up. Hao. So you get this nice rhythm. Fourth, first, third. Let's try it. 大家好. You want to commit this phrase and its exact tonal melody to memory. It is your single most reliable starting point.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Let's look at the morphology here, because it tells us so much about the culture. This phrase is not random at all. We start with the character da, which means big or great, and that's combined with jia, which means family or home. So the word da jia, which means everybody, literally translates to big family. Think about that. The standard way to address a group of people is to call them a big family. That linguistic choice alone gives us a huge insight into a more collectivist worldview.
So why this phrase? Why big family? Well, it taps directly into that collectivist cultural framework we just mentioned. It immediately creates a sense of warmth, a shared identity, and inclusivity. And in a cultural context where showing the proper respect for someone's age or status is incredibly important, 大家好 is just brilliant. It neatly sidesteps all the complex honorifics you might otherwise need. It's a fantastic social leveler. It addresses everyone in the room, from the newest intern to the CEO, with equal and appropriate respect. It's warm, but not too informal. It's formal, but not cold or distant. This makes it by far your safest and most strategically sound choice for an opening in almost any situation you can imagine.
Now let's zero in on a really common pronunciation mistake here. The tones are fourth tone, then first tone. Da jia. A very frequent error that learners make is they fail to keep that high, flat pitch on the first tone, on jia. There's a tendency to let the voice drop, which makes it sound like two fourth tones back to back. Da jia. Now listen closely to the difference. Here's the incorrect way. Da jia. And here's the correct way. Da jia. Hear that? Da jia. Mastering that distinction, that sharp fall followed by a sustained high note, is absolutely crucial for sounding clear and competent.
Okay, so you've greeted your audience. Next, you need to state your purpose. And your next key phrase is 今天我想介绍. Let's break down these tones. 今天 is first tone, nice and high. 我, third tone. 想, another third tone. 介绍, fourth tone. So the whole phrase flows like this. 今天我想介绍. It's direct, it's professional, and it clearly signals to your audience that you're about to get into the main content. All right, let's pop the hood and take a look at the grammar here, because the syntax is absolutely foundational to Mandarin. The sentence follows a subject, modal verb, verb pattern. Simple, right? The subject is 我, or I. The modal verb, which is a verb that expresses an intention or ability, is 想, want to. And it's really important to remember that modal verbs like 想 always have to come before the main verb. And here, our main verb is 介绍, to introduce. This structure is a powerhouse in Mandarin. Once you get it down, you can create tons of new perfect sentences just by swapping out the main verb.
For example, 我想说, I want to speak about, or 我想讨论, I want to discuss. It's incredibly useful.
Now, let's just feel the difference in impact here. On the left, you have that hesitant, uncertain opening. We've all heard it. And on the right, you have the two polished phrases we just analyzed. 大家好，今天我想介绍. The difference is night and day, isn't it? This combination projects confidence, preparation, and professionalism. It immediately tells your audience that you are in command of your topic and the language. This should be your gold standard.
All right, you have successfully executed a strong opening. Fantastic. Now we move from the opening into the body of the presentation. And here your role changes a little. You're no longer the greeter, you are now the guide. Your main job is to lead your audience through your argument with a clear, logical, and easy-to-follow structure.
The body of the presentation is where you deliver the goods, right? Your main arguments. To keep things clear and coherent, you have to use transition phrases. Think of them as linguistic signposts. For instance, to bring up your first point, you can use 首先, which means firstly. To move to your next point, 其次, or secondly, works perfectly. Want to add another point? Try 另外, in addition. And to show a contrast, you'd use 但是, but, or however. These little words aren't just optional flair. They are absolutely essential to make sure your audience can follow the logical path of your ideas from beginning to end.
So we've covered the opening and the body, which brings us to the conclusion. You know, a weak ending can completely undermine an otherwise great presentation. This is your last chance to bring all your key arguments together and leave a lasting professional impression on your audience.
A really solid conclusion has three distinct parts. First, the summary. You can signal this with a phrase like 总而言之, 总而言之, in conclusion, or 最后, 最后, finally. Second, you have to show your appreciation. The standard phrase here is 谢谢大家, 谢谢大家, thank you everyone. This is an absolutely critical sign of respect. And third, you formally open the floor for questions. A great way to do this is to ask, 请问大家有什么问题吗? 请问大家有什么问题吗? Which basically means, may I ask if anyone has any questions? Hitting these three steps, in order, shows real polish and professionalism.
So, we've looked at all the individual pieces of a successful presentation. Now, let's put it all together into a single comprehensive blueprint, a model you can take and adapt for any presentation you give in the future.
And here it is, the complete blueprint. Part 1, the opening. You'll use 大家好 and 今天我想介绍. Part 2, the body, where you structure your points with those essential signposts like 首先 and 其次. And finally, Part 3, the conclusion. You'll wrap it up with 总而言之, follow it with a sincere 谢谢大家, and then open up the conversation with 请问大家有什么问题吗? This three-part structure is your formula for a clear, professional, and successful presentation.
So, as we wrap up our session today, I want you to realize that you've been given more than just a handful of phrases. You have a strategic framework for being effective both linguistically and rhetorically. The structure is solid, you have the key vocabulary you need. The only thing left is for you to apply this blueprint to your own topics, to your own passions and expertise. The framework is yours. Now go and build your argument.